While Harry and Meghan immediately went into crisis mode, telling TMZ within hours of this story being posted on page 6 that a check was lost in the mail. I'd also like my 4th grade teacher to remember that my dog ate my homework.
Genealogy and found out about my heritage, the first thing I did obviously was call my mom because I wanted to know if she had any awareness of it. And I think being African American, part of it is really not knowing so much about your lineage, your background, where you come from specifically. And it was exciting for both of us to discover more and understand what that really means. Never in a million years would I understand it as much as I do now.
Being here, right?
Being here. And what has been echoed so much, really, in the past day by men and women alike is, oh, we weren't surprised when we found out when you were Nigerian. Oh, no. And I say that mostly as a compliment to all of you because what they define as a Nigerian woman is brave, resilient, courageous, powerful, beautiful.
Yeah, right. Okay, then. We're all Nigerians now, I guess, you know. Isn't that great? Isn't it? It took her a long time to check out where she came from. She's in her 40s, isn't she?
I mean, if you look at her Hollywood resume, it still says Caucasian. So I think that yeah, it took her a bit of time. But it's wild how much she is so confident in herself. I mean, basically what she just said was, I am courageous, I am brave, yeah. I am beautiful. I mean, that's all that was. All she does is toot her own horn. Like, she gets this platform, she gets on the stage, and instead of saying, what a beautiful country you have. I'm so blessed to be here.
Right.
You know, oh wow, I am courageous. I am brave. Like, check yourself before you wreck yourself. You lady, you sound crazy.
Back as well. You know, you like me will have been absolutely, I'm sure, flabbergasted by the amazing, incredible sort of, you know, unofficial royal tour, complete with a 14-car motorcade visiting Nigeria as if they were royals. Amazing.
I thought when you were quoting the 14, you were talking about Meghan's wardrobe changes every day, despite the fact that Nigeria is, you know, poverty-stricken, and so many of the locals are enraged over the fact that their government is going to be paying for the security of Harry and Meghan. And when there are government employees that are still waiting for back paychecks months ago. You know, what are the odds that they're going to get paid quickly for this Harry and Meghan visit?
Right. And I'm told that one of the great benefits of the Harry and Meghan visit is they're going to build a basketball court that Archewell are going to pay for. Now, you know, I'm not deriding their charitable acumen and their ability to do nice things for people, but a basketball court is not a very high on the bar of, you know, charitable donations, is it?
Well, look, you know, I was just doing research on this because every time Meghan Markle opens her mouth, she wants to remind us that she's a feminist.
Yes.
And aside from the poverty that Nigeria is dealing with, there are severe cases of violence against women and girls, which I think is a very big concern. The U.S. Department of State says Nigeria is on their radar for significant human rights issues like gender-based violence, you know, coerced abortion, children being married off, forced sterilization. A basketball court? Meghan Markle, you're supposed to be this feminist and the queen of the world. Why aren't you telling them that they need to stop mutilating young girls? And stop forcing young women to marry their creepy neighbors when they're 12 years old? Wouldn't that make more of an impact? I mean, they're just total virtue signal. You know, that's all they do is virtue signal. When are they going to actually what is the basketball court going to do, Mike? What is the basketball court going to do?
Well, I mean, I guess they're going to say, well, it's going to help people use athletics to reach out from poverty and make themselves into superstars in the NBA. But that ain't going to happen. Yeah, I mean,
good luck. Thanks for the basketball court. I just think that all they do is talk, and very little action. Meghan, I felt, you know, I got a lot of feedback from people saying that they felt like she dressed inappropriately throughout the tour. She changed clothes, you know, multiple times a day. And you're right, the objective was to look like she was the Princess of Wales, having her multiple meetings throughout the day, different looks, and that's not their status anymore. A week ago, Meghan Markle was throwing jam at her neighbors.
And it's very odd, I think, for a royal portrait, and actually, as I said earlier, rather flattering on the thin finger front.
Yes, because Charles always comments, doesn't he, about his fat fingers.
Sausage fingers, yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, famously, Rembrandt said he could only paint sausage fingers. He painted them so badly. And Titian's favourite colour was red. Apparently, he used to mix his own blood in it to make it redder. But, you know, what's the point of a royal portrait? Well, obviously, we want to try and get some sort of likeness. You know, we've sort of got there. We want to try and get some of their personality, something of the fashion of the time. We want it to be elegant, stylish, sophisticated, authoritative. Queen Camilla likes it. He does look a little bit grey, a little bit desolate, bit washed out and worn out, and that's maybe how he's feeling. To me, it sort of looks as though he's paid a visit to Dante's City of Fire, or perhaps standing in front of a Rothko painting. It's very strong, very garish, bit gaudy. It's over life size, and we see the king standing, posing with his sword in his hand. He only had 4 sittings, or 4 standings, if you like, so he had to keep very still. But did you notice the little butterfly landing on his shoulder?
No. Well,
right, okay, so there's a little butterfly. As you look at the painting on the left-hand side. Now, the little butterfly is just emerging from this sort of swampy sea of red, but it symbolises metamorphosis and rebirth. If you think about the butterfly from cocoon to butterfly, so it's referencing a monarch who's only just recently become king and grown, and it's also there to symbolise the king's interest in the environment and nature. So he's telling a story. It's a much more modern portrait than we're used to. So it's very red because the military outfit is red. So he wanted to sort of show King Charles was part of his uniform and standing there with pride. And also, you know, at times Charles wants to disappear into the background and just be alone with his beloved Camilla, and darling Camilla, as he refers to her. But also, you know, he does have to have a public face, and the public face does look a little bit grey and a little bit statuesque, and that may be because that's part of the mask that he has to wear for his day job.
Well, it hasn't taken long for Peter Phillips to find himself a new girlfriend after his last relationship ended and was publicly revealed about 4 weeks ago. And yesterday and over the weekend at the badminton horse trials in Gloucestershire, he was seen having very close conversations with the new woman in his life, a paediatric nurse by the name of Harriet Sperling. And Harriet is something of a hero in the National Health Service. She is also an author, and she's written about treatment of severely injured, severely handicapped, severely challenged young people who she has helped. And at badminton, Peter could not have looked happier in her company. Peter Phillips has been divorced for quite a while now. His Canadian wife was a very popular member of the royal family, and they were very close. They had 2 children, 2 daughters who are now aged 13 and 12, but that marriage ended asunder, and then he moved on to another girlfriend, and that relationship lasted for some years. It was serious enough for Peter Phillips to have introduced the young lady to the Queen not long before she died. Now, when that happens, that usually means that it's the one, she's the one. That will be the person that the royal personage will be marrying. Of course, that didn't happen. That relationship ended as relationships can, and now he's got a new girlfriend. Peter Phillips, who's now 46, has had an interesting and different royal background. I remember very, very clearly the rather dull, dreary November day in 1977 when he was born, because something very unusual happened. The Queen was late. The Queen never likes to be late. Punctuality is the courtesy of kings and queens. But the Queen was late at the investiture at Buckingham Palace because she was waiting for news of Princess Anne, who was in hospital giving birth to Peter Phillips. And he was the Queen's first grandchild and said by many to be her favorite grandchild. I don't know about that, but that was said. And it was unusual in many ways because Princess Anne was the first person to give birth in a hospital, the Lindo wing at St Mary's Hospital in Paddington. Before that, royal births had been in palaces where the doctors came to them rather than them going to the doctors.
Well, they've been being VIPs, self-styled VIPs in Africa. Guess what? Their charity foundation, Archwell, has been declared delinquent by the Californian Attorney General. It now has been ordered to stop raising money and to stop spending money. So this is quite a fall from grace for their big charitable concern. So we're going to go straight over to the lady on the spot, the excellent Kinsey Schofield. Hi, Kinsey.
You're right, Kevin. It was like a Temu royal tour, you know, like a fake royal tour. And this must be such a reality check because Meghan Markle got the headlines that she wanted. Glamorous Meghan Markle, beautiful Meghan Markle, Princess of Nigeria. I don't even think she's landed in the States yet because they are on their way home.
Okay.
And we're already finding out that they are no longer able to solicit donations through Archwell. They are no longer able to disperse donations through Archwell. Records indicate that these two have been delinquent since January for not filing its annual registration renewal fee reports, and they did not file those in February of 2023. The last time you and I really got into Archwell and talked about it was December 2023 when those headlines read, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's troubled Archwell charity lost $17 million in 1 year after big donors pull out. And these are philanthropy and charity publications describing the nonprofit as deeply in the red and suffering from a massive drop in donations. So it is interesting that we watch them go on this tour where they're talking about how much they give and how giving they are and all these things that they intend on doing. And the reality is that somebody's not checking the books behind the scenes, dotting the I's, crossing the T's. Someone's not doing their job, Kevin.
Yeah. So is their operation in California, slightly dysfunctional? Because this is about not returning the documents, the signed documents, the business arrangements that anybody who runs a charity or a business has to do once a year. It's one of the things you have to do. They haven't done it. I mean, is the suggestion here that things are falling apart at the seams a bit in Montecito?
Well, I mean, look at the revolving door of Archwell employees in general that this company has, whether it's Archwell Audio, Archwell Productions, or Archwell Charities. They go through employees like I go through fresh pairs of socks. Now, just to explain kind of what this delinquent mark means, within the notes it says that an organization that is listed as delinquent is not in good standing and is prohibited from engaging in conduct for which registration is required. This is going to be hard hitting for them. Somebody is going to be very upset over this embarrassment. Somebody could potentially be terminated. This is humiliating based on going from those glamorous headlines and photos to somebody's not doing their job properly. And allegedly, they're going to have to pay some penalties to get back in good standing.
The Archwell Foundation do say that the check is in the post for a second time.
Yeah. They say that they sent a check, but somehow it didn't get there. They don't know what happened to it.
Well, I thought things were done by bank transfer now, so it can be done instantly. So, again, we don't know the full details, but clearly within the Californian state law, they have failed to fulfill their sort of tax and returns, and that is causing them a little bit of embarrassment, considering they've just gone on to Nigeria and they've sort of been flaunting the charitable aspects of their foundation. So at the moment, sort of puts a bit of a cloud under what they're doing.
Yes.
They just need to sort it out. Look, the accounts have shown that they haven't raised as much money as they did initially, and some members of staff do seem to be earning eye-watering amounts of money. And so, you know, it is something that will be looked at, and always there will be a focus on it. All charities should be squeaky clean and above board, but I would have thought Harry and Meghan's needs to be making sure they do everything right to avoid any more negative headlines, which immediately come a result. If you haven't done your accounting, which seems to be a basic business practice, then you're going to be put under the unnecessary spotlight. I'm sure it's all going to be sorted, but it's not a clever look.
Today, Charles also announced this on the day that Harry couldn't be seen. He handed over senior military role to Prince William. What was that rank that he? What was the regiment that he handed over today, Michael?
It's the Army Air Corps, a very important bunch of people. And of course, the interesting thing here is last week, the King definitely gave Prince Harry, his younger son, a flea in the ear. And today, if he didn't take it as a slight, a personal slight, I think he would have taken it as a disappointment, because the King handed over the great office of Colonel-in-Chief of the Army Air Corps to his oldest son, the Prince of Wales. And of course, it was in that regiment, the Army Air Corps, that Prince Harry served with some distinction in Afghanistan. He was a commander of an Apache assault aircraft. In fact, I must just tell you that right overhead here, he trained for about a year at RAF Wattisham near Needham Market in Suffolk. And we used to wave to those helicopters. They used to go around in pairs. After he'd done his training, he went out there. He then very, very unwisely, in his book Spare, confessed to shooting 25 Taliban. That painted a big target on the middle of his back. But today, the King down at Odium in Hampshire handed over this office to his older son. Now, of course, when the King was Prince of Wales, he was Colonel-in-Chief, so it's quite right that it's gone to the Prince of Wales, who is Prince William. But I don't believe that Prince Harry will have taken it like that. I think he will have seen it as a disappointment. But then he walked away from this country. He
completely agree. Michael, what briefly do you think caused the, perhaps, you say, a flea in the ear from the King? I've said that for me, the change of attitude from King Charles came when Harry crossed the red line of criticising his wife Camilla, who he holds in such high esteem, and Harry didn't. I believe that, but it was quite a flea in the ear, wasn't it? To be fair, last week.
I think it's absolutely 100%. Most men can be put up with being insulted. My goodness, I've been insulted by experts. But what they don't want is their wives being insulted. That is the red line. You do not cross that. You and I, during our lives, have often heard the phrase, the check is in the post. Well, that is what, essentially, the wonderful Duke and Duchess of Sussex are saying, because in America, they take charity invigilation very seriously. You cannot collect money from the public as a charity unless you register every year. And what has happened here, the Archwell Foundation, which is the charitable arm of the Montecito duo, has failed to send the check with the papers that they sent in for registration. Now, in this country, the Charity Commission, and you maybe want to look into this sometime, allows the registration of charities which are nothing like charities. They're dubious organizations which are following political or social agendas of their own, which have very, very little to do with the relief of suffering, which is what most of us understand by the word charity. So that's what's happened. They say that the check is in the post, and interestingly, the statement from Archwell in California spelled the word check in the British way, Q-U-E.
Yeah. Hadn't thought of that.
Americans never write check except C-H-E-C-K.
I know that, Mike. I lived there 10 years. So here's the thing. First of all, that excuse sounds to me like, you know, Kinsey Schofield hit the nail on the head. It's a bit like a kid saying the dog ate my homework. It doesn't ring true. And there are reports that, in fact, Archwell, the foundation, the charity arm of it, has been delinquent since January. So this indication or implication that somehow it's just a recent bureaucratic blip doesn't necessarily stand up.
No, two middle-aged delinquents, not juvenile delinquents here. You would have thought they'd have attended to that because they've got a big enough staff to do this sort of thing. And as I say, maybe that response that was written with check in the British fashion was the work for the new PR. They've hired a top-rate PR guru from London to look after them. Of course, Meghan says she doesn't care about Britain. She says she's done with the UK, which, as you know, is an American way of saying they're finished with it completely and forever. She's done with the UK, but she is sufficiently concerned about her image in this country that she has hired a British PR to presumably burnish her credentials and polish her image for the delight of us all.
I knew that this story was going to blow up. Harry and Meghan, Archwell charity being declared delinquent as they're on their way home after glowing, like, you know, like just ooey gooey headlines about their trip to Nigeria, what Meghan Markle wore, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it was media-wise, it looked great for Harry and Meghan. They want to look like still respected members of the royal family. That was
Can I just say about that? I don't understand that because I thought they wanted to leave the royal family. They didn't want to do any royal work, but then they've gone to Nigeria because apparently she's 43% Nigerian, and apparently they quite like the fact they're going to make such a massive difference. But the argument would surely be how much of a difference they could have made to the world in general if they'd stayed within the royal circle and not been bitching about it so much.
I think that's a really great point. And, you know, they're building a basketball court. I was complaining about this on Mike Graham, your friend's show, and somebody commented underneath it, what has that royal expert done for Nigeria? I will happily send you a basketball. I'm not Meghan Markle. I'm not pretending to do more than I'm actually doing. And they do it through this Archwell charity. And while Harry and Meghan immediately went into crisis mode, telling TMZ within hours of this story being posted on page 6 that a check was lost in the mail, I'd also like my 4th grade teacher to remember that my dog ate my homework.
She goes to Nigeria, where female genital mutilation is rife. There are virtually no women's rights. Women lead terrible lives. They are oppressed in Nigeria, and hundreds of kids are kidnapped on a mass basis by bandits and Muslim extremists, and they are held captive for years and used as sex slaves. That is the country that Harry and Meghan just endorsed and just made look good. Are they just a couple of useless idiots helping to promote brand Nigeria, Kinsey?
Well, and then I mean, yes, but then she shows up and all she talks about is herself. She doesn't say, look, I'm so grateful to be here today, but I want to talk about what UNICEF said 2 years ago about, you know, female mutilation, the rise of female mutilation. I mean, she could have just taken a second to acknowledge it, but as a feminist, but, you know, instead she wants to complain about Austin Powers on the Archetypes podcast that was released 20 years ago. I mean, it's very bizarre. But I also would stress that they of course have released this statement, you know, about how great their tour was, but Meghan's been really criticized for the inappropriate way that she dressed. They showed up consistently late for these appearances and meetings, and then, you know, even just Meghan grabbing a microphone and talking about herself instead of her environment or some of the heroes, the war heroes or the veterans she met throughout the process of Invictus Games. These are the type of errors that they're making because they are rogue fake royals and they don't have the template that the real royal family has. And I think that they're major PR missteps that show how insincere they are.